Hey everybody, this is So Many Sequels. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
All right, this week on the show we are talking about The Fall Guy, brand new movie that just came out starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, among a great supporting cast too. Letterboxd describes this movie as fresh off an almost career-ending accident, stuntman Colt Seavers has to track down a missing movie star, solve a conspiracy, and try to win back the love of his life while still doing his day job. So, David, this movie has just come out as of this recording, but I believe we have opening weekend estimates. What are we looking at here?
Well, we're looking at it's the number one movie of the weekend. I'll start by saying that. So, The Fall Guy opened to $28.5 million in 4,000 theaters. It was the number one movie with Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, a 2024 re-release here for us, at number 2, Challengers at number 3, Tarot, the debuting Tarot at number 4, and Godzilla x Kong rounding out the top 5 there. So $28 million here in the United States, $36.9 million overseas for a $65 million worldwide total so far. That may be a little lower, I think, than what the studios were hoping for. It has an estimated budget between 125 and 130 million, according to Deadline, and they did get a pretty good tax incentive from the country of Australia to film there. I know that a lot of the movie was filmed in Australia, so hopefully that helps in that situation. I don't know, but yeah, I would think that they were hoping for a little bit more. Last year, May kicked off with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which opened to $118 million worldwide. Granted, that was a franchise that has a lot of built-in fans, a lot of built-in momentum behind it. This is a brand new thing. So I don't know. Don't know what their expectations were exactly, but hopefully it can ride some decent word of mouth to maybe some more money here before the end of the year. I mean, with that $28 million, it's already the number 13 movie of the year, and that open of 28.5 is the 6th highest open of the year. So for 2024, it's doing pretty well. We talked a little bit last week in one of last week's shows about how 2024 hasn't been the hottest start at the box office so far. You've had some movies that have done pretty well, but nothing that's done, huge numbers so far. So, not bad for 2024. Final numbers will come in probably sometime Monday, so it might move up a little bit from that 28.5 number. But overall, you're looking at that as your final opening weekend. And maybe I'll do an update at the end of the year to see how The Fall Guy did later on. But for now, there's your opening weekend numbers.
This week on the show, we're starting a brand new month, which is May, which means it's summer blockbuster season officially. Movies have been popping up lately. We've talked about Challengers a little bit. That's a new movie that debuted number 1 last week. And this week, we are talking about a brand new movie from David Leitch, the director of Hobbs and Shaw, I believe. With this new movie,
We also
what? Yeah. What did he also do?
Also, Bullet Train.
Bullet Train.
I was gonna say he directed Bullet Train a couple years ago. He directed Atomic Blonde.
Okay. Yeah. Good for him. But this movie stars Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt as people who work in the film industry. Ryan plays a stunt performer. Emily plays a camera operator turned director, and they get into some mess. We're going to get into the movie here now. I would say we'll probably do our best for a while, but this is a new movie, so expect that you might hear some spoilers or two. Consider yourself warned for that, just in case. But let's go ahead and kick things off here. Garrett, you and I saw this movie together. We were not able to see it as a full group this time, although we tried. But we had a good time with it. What did you come out thinking?
Yeah, it was a hell of fun. It was a lot of well-done action sequences, and that's always great. We've had so many good action movies lately, like the John Wick series. I go back to Nobody, we mentioned Bullet Train, and it feels like this movie fits really well into that, and it's kind of calling out certain things that these movies that I previously mentioned have been kind of building towards. And that is stunts and Oscars. I think that we've seen such a progression for that, and I think that it is really well done that this movie calls it out. The story is not the greatest out there, but it doesn't really matter because Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling are basically the George Clooney and oh my God, Julia Roberts of our time, where they are just like movie stars. You know, we don't necessarily have people that I would say are movie stars, but these two have like vaulted themselves at the top of that list. So they have such a good chemistry, and the entire cast really has good chemistry. So that was just so much fun to see. I really appreciate a movie that everybody seems that they're having a good time in, and this movie left me feeling that way too. Again, it's not the deepest, but you're going to have a really good time at the movie theater, and that is one reason to go to the movie theater. What about you, David? What'd you think?
Yeah. Oh, you want me to go? I enjoyed this too, not quite to the level that I was expecting. This was sort of, I don't think it made my most anticipated at the beginning of the year. Over the course of the last few months, I've been like, oh man, The Fall Guy I think might be like my movie of this year. Like I was really excited. And maybe I overhyped it, which is not fair to the movie. But I did think the movie was really fun, and Gosling is very funny. Him and Blunt work very well together. It's kind of funny because we have Barbenheimer has come back in a new way. We have Mrs. Oppenheimer and Ken together again. So they were great. Aaron Taylor Johnson was cracking me up. Obviously, David Leitch, who was one of the co-directors for the first John Wick movie. He went on to do Atomic Blonde. He did Bullet Train. He did Deadpool 2. He did Hobbs and Shaw. Those weren't as wide as successfully received. But he has gone from stuntman to director, and it's because of that. It's because of his co-director for that first John Wick, Chris Stalsky, I think is how you pronounce his name, that we're starting to see this bigger, more real movement towards full appreciation for stunt work and fight choreography. And we'll talk about that as we go along, better recognition in the industry. But I think David Leitch is really progressing as a director, and you kind of see some of it here. I'll expand more later. But for me, so the stunts, the fighting, those were really big highlights here. I will say that the story to me just felt unfocused at times, and I'm not saying like throw the whole movie out. I'm not. It just that at times there were like characters just kind of popped up towards the mid, like 2/3 of the way into the movie, and I was like, who are these people? Anyhow, once the movie kind of finds its like second plot that it has, because like it starts off as like kind of this, romance that's gone sour, right? And that was really nice. And then they found this like, whoa, murder mystery type thing going on. And like I really wish that they had just like driven down and focused more on that, is kind of what I found myself doing. But overall, as my wife said, the goods of this movie, the highs of this movie, vastly outweigh any of my negatives. So I still had a really good time with it overall. What about you, Josh?
I also had just a blast watching this movie. It was just super fun to sit and watch. It felt like just like a classic big summer blockbuster, like popcorn movie, kind of one of those that you don't really see a lot of anymore, I feel like, especially that aren't part of a massive franchise. I get that this is based on a TV show, but I don't think anyone could call The Fall Guy a big franchise by any means. So I'll still take it as being about as original as Hollywood is sometimes willing to do. So with that said, I just had a great time. I mean, the enjoyment factor for me far outweighed most of the cons that I found in it. Because the things that I love, it's like the highs were so much higher than the lows were low. I loved the parts I loved about the story were how self-referential it was at times. Like the movie tells us multiple times that it's gonna have a third act problem, and then it kind of actually does. And that's a little baller, and I like respect it to a degree, because it does get messy at the end. But we're told countless times by Emily Blunt's character that this is gonna happen. So I love that kind of stuff. I loved there was a part where I believe when Ryan Gosling's character he is tied up at one point with the bad guys, and he starts criticizing the plan because it wouldn't be a good movie. It was too complicated or something like that. So those moments I really liked a lot. A lot of great needle drop moments in this movie for me. You know, a lot of people are going to think my favorite moment's going to be Ryan Gosling crying to Taylor Swift. And while it is high
man.
up there, the Phil Collins thing really just took me to the fucking moon. I was having so much fun listening to Emily Blunt singing Against All Odds while Ryan Gosling was trying to get to karaoke in the most insane semi-truck car chase I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I can't sit still. I'm having such a good time. So
I did, yeah.
there's a lot going on there that I like a lot. But let's go ahead. Let's get into some specifics here. What are some big moments that stuck out to you guys that you liked a lot, or maybe that you wish were better?
For me, again, I think you mentioned. I just want to start with the soundtrack because I do think that it is a very great soundtrack that they have. You know, one of the best uses of AC/DC to start and get you hyped. I mean, there's a right way to use AC/DC, and there's a wrong way to use AC/DC, and the wrong way is every other way but the right way. and this one was perfect to set you up and to just let it build, and then the way that they played to that was just brilliantly done and set the tone for this movie, and I really appreciated it. Josh, you mentioned the Taylor Swift. That was a wonderful moment of that movie for several reasons. You don't see a guy in that scenario most of the times, being the sad one in a relationship, wanting the other person, realizing that they had made a mistake or whatever. And so, like, you know, we learn a little bit more as that relationship develops over time throughout this movie, but like that moment was just hilarious.
Gosling
really
is
the
so
only way to
good at
describe
being
it.
a vulnerable man. I believe
100%.
I believe him when he's portraying a vulnerable scene, like, and I don't always, but like, yeah, he does seem like
just
he would
looks
cry in the
so
car to Taylor
sad.
Swift, just like me. We are the same, Ryan.
Yep.
Look at us.
Yeah, I did think that was going to be your favorite part. I made a note of. I bet Josh will love that.
I did, but I swear Phil Collins was better.
That is, yes, that should be noted. I'm also going to point out. So there was a point where they were, while we're talking music moments, I'm going to point out that I will sing very loudly at the top of my lungs anytime the Darkness, I believe in a thing called Love, is played, and so
Great moment.
we were very fortunate. There was only like 20 people in my theater at the time because I was belting it out. I believe in a thing called love.
Yeah.
It was great, and I know the words. I just like to do that. It was that was fun. And then I don't know I never listened to the original theme song, but I definitely recognize Blake Shelton when he starts coming on in the credits. I was like, is that Blake Shelton? Yeah. So they got the original theme song from the Fall Guy in there, and it was a nice little country flair for us as well. But I also want to talk about. I don't remember what for me another highlight. And we can switch into another element here was. There were a lot of great fight scenes. There was one where after Ryan Gosling is drugged, he starts seeing things, sparks and stuff, but he has like this sort of like neon drug-induced fight that was honestly very like
Cool.
Scott Pilgrim sort of influence to me. It kind of gave that level of vibe, and I enjoyed myself. That was honestly too short of a fight scene, in my opinion, but it was very. It had a great infusion of like all of a sudden they're just like, whoa, this is different. But they found a way to make it fun and make it work. So I like that a lot. What about you guys? Any stunts that stood out?
Oh my God, I don't know.
Josh, you go for it.
There's so many. I mean, I really did enjoy to go back to the car chase with the music, the Phil Collins song. There's a part where they're in a like tipped over piece of the truck, and it is like spinning while they're fighting while it's going down the road, and that was really cool, I thought. And then they show that in the credits, the behind the scenes, so you can see that that again, another practical stunt that was not CGI. They were really doing this. And, you know, you get to see in those behind-the-scenes moments, too, the actual stunt people for Gosling and them highlighted there, which is cool.
I liked a lot of the stunt driving that was taking place in the movie. I thought that was a really fun aspect because it kind of brought you into it. And then the world record setting car flip obviously was one of the coolest things that I've seen. And so that was really, really cool.
You know what's crazy about that is they must have known the day they filmed it that this set a world record, because they mention in the movie that they set a world record. Like Hannah Waddingham comes in and she goes, "You just set a world record, 8.5 flips." And I was like, I wonder if that's true. And then I come out of the movie and yeah, it's true. New world record for most car flips.
That's crazy.
For a cannon roll or whatever. That's pretty neat. That's pretty cool for like a movie that's so focused on stunts to then break a stunt record.
You got to think that was a goal, right? Like I feel like that was purposeful. I mean, we talked about the director. He was a former stunt person. Surely he knows some of these things, and he's like, you know what? We want to set this goal for us and work it into the movie, because again, this movie is very self-referential, and so I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that was researched and studied and designed with perfection to figure out what would be like the optimal speed, the optimal angle, all of these considerations that you have to do. And which is why I go back to another part of this movie that I enjoyed, was calling out that there's a lot that goes into this stuff, and that it is something that should be considered for an Oscar, whether it's fight choreography or stunt choreography. Those types of things really have made a lot of these movies, especially when it's done. And I think it would encourage more practicality as well. So many of these stunts were so cool to see, and rather than just be like CGI and everything again just now at this point looks like AI, unless it's just done so well. And so find a way to make it better, and practical has always been better, and this movie did a good job of just showing you that and giving you that throughout the whole movie, and I really just appreciated that from start to finish.
Well, the best CGI, as they always say, is CGI you can't tell is there.
Yep.
And so you do have. I'm sure that there was a decent little CGI budget on this for different things, but the way they do it by using practical effects so well is that you can't tell. I would say probably 99 times out of 100 when it's being done. But I love Josh and so Garrett, I think you're right. I would love to make a prediction that by 2030 we will have a Academy Award for best stunt work or best stunt team or something like that.
It is directly called out in the movie that doesn't exist.
And at this year's Academy Awards, Ryan Gosling said that there should be. Then they did a little tribute to stunt performers during the Academy Awards. So I feel like they know that they need to get on that, but it's one of those things that just takes time to do. And they already announced 2 new categories for 2026 or something like that. So I think at some point we're going to get there. But like you said, Garrett, this thing points out, or it makes it a sort of meta attention to call out like how this stuff works. You see the behind the scenes, the wire work. You see all the other cars that are involved in following one car for a stunt. Josh, you mentioned them bringing up the third act idea, but I think also Leach here kind of gets a little meta himself in a lot of ways by sort of highlighting things about film in general. One of my favorite things was this commentary on split screen, where they have Emily Blunt's on the phone with Ryan Gosling. She says, "What do you think about split screen? Like, showing their two worlds." And then they do that. They do a split screen between him and Ryan Gosling. And they have this like kind of perfectly choreographed, yin and yang movement with each other in split screen. And I thought that was really fun. And I know that for some people, they probably won't like a movie talking about movie things, but I don't know. I love it. I love when movies sort of dissect the things that we're so used to seeing, the tropes we're so used to seeing in film. So something like that was really fun. And they staged really well. It was funny. And it was also really like, it was one of those movies it's one of those movies that has great dialogue. So it felt so, it felt so engaging to watch. So that was another favorite part of mine personally.
Let's turn to talking about the story a little bit, because I know both of you guys mentioned it as being a weak spot, and as I mentioned, the third act is called out directly in the movie as kind of being a weak spot, and there's others as well, but it does kind of get wild. So, like we kind of started out with, Ryan Gosling plays Colt Seavers, who is a stunt performer in Hollywood. Um, and Emily Blunt plays a camera operator who becomes a director. So, Ryan's character experiences an accident early in the film and kind of steps away from stunt performing for a while. But he's brought back, and without going into too much detail, the star of a film goes missing, and he is recruited to help finish the film and find him at the same time because he is his stunt double, and he would know him best. So that's kind of the setup here. How do you guys feel about that that side of the story once the actual action element picked up?
Yeah, Garrett, you go first. I'm interested to see what you have to say.
Yeah, for me, it just kind of felt like everything was so over the top. And I honestly, I had no issues with the over the top nature of it. I think my issue was the reality of the relationship between Ryan and Emma. I don't know why I'm having trouble remembering people's names this evening. But for me, it was just, I don't know. A lot of things kind of felt rushed there at the end, as you do. And I think that they had too many different kind of weaving pieces. I think that they could have removed one of like the subplots that they had. I don't exactly know which one. You like take your pick. You know, there was I don't want to get too spoilery, but there was, for me, there was A plot, B plot, and then like a few little strands over here. And I think they could have unplugged one of those and saved like 10 minutes. And I think it would have just kept my attention a little bit more. I mean, this movie is 2 hours. And again, the story is not what this movie is there for. The story is fun and entertaining. But I just think that they could have replaced 10 minutes of story with 10 minutes of stunts. And then that would have been a little bit better balance. But they tried to give it the story equal attention as the stunts, which I appreciate. I just feel like this movie, I wanted more stunts, really, is what it boils down to for me, I think, is where it falls. But overall, it didn't do anything to push me away or anything. It just never really got me fully invested. Everyone is charming. Everyone's delivering. It's just not, it's not a 5-star movie story. And that's not a fault. That's not a fault.
No, I generally agree with you. I think I have a different way to say it too, but for me, it was like the story was going along fairly well. And then there's a little, so like you said, he's asked to go and find, this actor that he's doubled for all this time. And like, it just feels like he gets there and they start work on the movie. And then he's like, oh, I got to do that thing. And then he goes to start to do the thing and he goes, oh my gosh, spoiler alert. That's in the trailer. So spoiler alert. Oh my gosh, a dead body. And then he's like, okay, now back to the movie. And like, they just do the movie. They just go back to work for like a day. And that just kind of felt weird to me. And then they're like, oh, now remember that thing? Okay, but we're going to get back to that. And just kind of felt like it felt paced in a weird way. And I don't like when people complain about pace, but I just felt like the way that the story was structured, there was a weird break where all of a sudden I'm just now wondering, are we going to get back to that dead body thing? Like, that was just kind of weird. And now I don't know, like, so now I'm just sitting here watching them do like, this, I love the darkness. So I sang along during that whole segment. But it was just kind of like the whole time I'm thinking, like, are they going to get back to that murder at some point? So like that was one element. Also, I think that they had some characters that just came out late, like Stephanie Shu. I love Stephanie Shu; she was great. But like all of a sudden, she just kind of appears as Aaron Taylor Johnson's assistant, with having never been in the movie at any point before that, seemingly. And it was just like, that's the PA. She has a cell phone, and it all just seemed like a way to just get this dog to Ryan Gosling. And I was like, I feel like they could have done this faster. That whole segment of him meeting her, them taking the dog to the park, him handing her the phone, them, like they could have gotten through that quicker to me. And maybe just either gotten rid of that character or maybe combine that character with a character they had already set up. I don't know. Maybe it was Winston Duke just as like, oh yeah, I got his phone. Well, how did you get his phone? I don't know. He gave it to me. I don't know. That would have been like, it could have been that easy. So there was just some stuff that just kind of like, I was like you said, Garrett, elements that dragged a little bit where they could have just moved quicker, gotten to a scene faster. And maybe overall you only cut like 10 minutes out of this or 15 minutes out of this. But I don't know. Like, does that make? I don't know if that makes sense. Again, it's not like doesn't fully destroy the movie, but for me, it was just like there was just a lull where I was like waiting for the next beat to drop in the story, because like as much fun as the action and the stunts are, I was just kind of sitting there going like, whoa, I feel like something big just happened, and then we kind of just moved on, and I feel so that was that. I don't know. I kind of feel bad dogging on the movie because I do genuinely like the highs. Like you said, Josh, the highs are very high, way higher than the lows are low.
Bring us back up, Josh.
Well, I mean, I not to repeat too much or of anything that you guys said, but what I would say where I find any issue with it, because it really took me until after the movie before I started to think about back on what I would have or what I thought could have been different. Because in the moment, I was just pretty enraptured by it, and I wasn't. At no point was I questioning whether or not they would get back to that body. I just assumed they would and kept going on with the movie, and then they did. So I just didn't get into that stuff because I think I was too busy, like Squirrel. Every time there was a new stunt, that was really cool. But I do think there were too many side characters, and that's just an aspect of this type of story, you know, where you got a guy who has to find a missing person, and they find one person who gives them a clue, and that leads them to the next person who gives them the clue, and the next person, and that's kind of what we got here, and I feel like there's too much of it. You know, like, we have a really great fight scene in Aaron Taylor Johnson's apartment with a sword fight scene, but there's no real explanation of why we had a sword fight. Again, it was cool, but it was long, and then it was just like, oh, that's his girlfriend? Why does she know how to do that? And why didn't she recognize Colt? And why did it become so those kind of things, I agree, it could have been tightened up if we just didn't spend so much time with the side characters that he was meeting along the way. But that, I think, would be my chief complaint, because otherwise I really enjoyed it. There was...
I think that's what I was trying to say. I think you said it a lot better than I did, Josh.
Okay.
So thank you for that, because I think I tend to agree.
I have a question to ask both of you guys about a joke that was in the movie that was also brought to my attention after the fact, because I didn't even catch it. And I want to see if you guys did. And it's kind of a not cool joke.
Okay.
There is a moment where Hannah Waddingham's character walks into a room where Emily Blunt's character is, and it is a mess. And she says, it looks like Johnny and Amber have been here. Did you guys catch that?
I remember vaguely her saying that, but I don't know who Johnny and Amber are.
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and it's a joke about their domestic violence case. It's like not funny.
Oh.
But I didn't catch it, and then I started. Someone else pointed it out to me. A friend of mine pointed it out, and then I googled it, and I'm seeing some other people be like, "Hey, why was that was a weird like throwaway, especially weirdly mean joke."
Yeah.
Okay.
Could have easily gone a different way.
Yeah,
With that,
yeah.
it was an aside, and I love an aside.
Right,
But,
right, and even for it to come from a spoiler alert, villainous character is still a little much.
Right.
Okay, so I just wanted to see if you guys caught it,
I
because
could see
I
that
didn't
being...
either, but now I'm seeing that it's definitely happened, and I don't know why that got left in.
Interesting.
Especially how that
I
case,
just...
played out publicly for so long, and it was very nasty.
It's a risky joke, you know. It's a risky joke. It's some people, there was a chance, maybe they took a chance, and it's a little off. I mean, there's a lot of ways they could go with that. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets enough backlash. I wouldn't be surprised to see like an alternate take on the DVD or home video release.
If I remember right,
sure.
from what I was told of when it happens, I think they could just like cut it and it wouldn't change the scene. She just walks in. But okay. So that's out there. Thankfully, I don't think there was anything else that was that out of place.
I don't remember anything, but
The only thing that I heard one other review mention was the situation with that there's a fight with props, like a rubber tomahawk and a gun with blanks in it. And the only other thing I could think of is that people had talked about the rust situation.
I had that thought too. And
Yeah.
I don't
It
think
didn't cross my mind, but I definitely see how that could be a thing that could be a problem for people.
right.
Yeah.
It just feels sensitive
And
at
those-
the time. I don't think it is.
Yeah, and
I don't
that's
think
one of
there's
those
any
things
ill
that's-
intent behind it, but I think it's just a sensitive time.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Well, but do you guys want to talk about the performances a little bit before we?
Yeah, and I
we
want to
move
start
on?
with Emily Blunt because we've talked about Gosling a lot already. So let's start with her
Mm.
before we go to him or anyone else. She's
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. Obviously, she's great in everything, and I am liking her more and more with each movie. And I've already
Always.
been high on her for a while, so that's impressive enough. She's easily the better half of Krasinski and Blunt, and I love him too. So talk about a power couple there. She's just a magnetic personality that's fun to watch. She's believable as a love interest for Gosling because it's like, who wouldn't love Emily Blunt? She's great, and the character she plays is great. She's very funny. She can do action. She can do drama. She can do it all, and she plays against Gosling really well in this. I thought about how this compared to another action adventure movie she did opposite of The Rock, which that chemistry was like dead compared to this. So she just is. She's great. She makes every movie better by being in it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, she's strong performance out of this. She's so funny. She's funnier than Ryan Gosling because she's just so smart and she's such a strong person too. I mean, the scene where she, again, spoiler alert, is just lighting him on fire and throwing him into a rock and pulling that situation. You know, that is a badass woman who is putting a man on call in the spot in the middle of something, and she is not dealing with his crap. And you don't see enough characters like that who can be, you know, I feel like this movie did a good job of switching some norms that people might expect, because you get a sensitive macho guy and then you get a strong woman who is not the one who is emotionally sad about the relationship. She's angry and he is sad, and you don't see that a lot. And she brought that dynamic just was a really welcomed thing to see. So yeah, agree with everything you said, Josh, and she was fantastic.
No, and our third, she's like you said, Josh. She's become one of my favorite actresses over the last several years. She's very funny. I've seen her be funny. I've seen her do action, comedies, and drama as well. So like, she's great. And in this movie, she does this great job. Like you said, she's angry. She's guarded. You know, which that's a great trait that you don't really see as much as you could. And she's spurned, but you can really you can read it in the way she performs it. Like, she does still kind of she is still in love. She wants that relationship, but she's like, but I'm not gonna just hand it over. He's gonna have to be better, or fix this, or do what, he's gonna do the right thing. And when she's on the bullhorn and she's kind of airing out all of their dirty laundry for the most part, through the story of the movie, it is very it was cracking me up. And I always love Ryan's retort of like, on this planet, do they have any conversations in private? She's like, no. But also, so the thing that I wanted to point out is that the power dynamic is shifted. Normally, you might have like a male director and a female underling, an underling, but person who's on the third one. But she's on the film set. She has the power. She's the director. She's in charge, so she can tell him, you're not doing this, or you're doing that, or whatever it is. She can fire him at will. So there's that element that's at play as well.
Yeah, for sure. She's just great. There are also really great supporting characters behind these two great leads. Winston Duke is always fun to see.
Oh man,
He
put
is
him in every movie.
A blast, and he is also just a cool. He's a cool guy who can do cool things. Cool guys doing cool crimes. No crimes though.
You know what I like about Winston Duke? This is a weird thing to say. He's very, very tall. He's very I feel like we get so many short short kings in Hollywood these days, and I like the Winston Duke's like 6'3", 6'4", something like that. Dude looks huge. I like that.
He is a big man and he can be intimidating, but he's also very good at just being like a calming presence. Like he's not intimidating in this movie until he has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people, when they're that big, can just be intimidating. I mean, like, I can no longer see D'Onofrio and think, oh, he's nice.
Right.
No, he's scary.
I buy Winston Duke as just like fun guy. He just seems like he would be the life of the party no matter where he goes. So like, yeah.
Hannah Waddingham is always fun to see. I think, was that you who wrote in here, or Garrett? Did you write any? Love to see anyone from the Lasso family, or was that David?
That was
No, that was
Oh,
Mr.
okay,
David.
okay. Yes, agreed. Anytime I see somebody from Ted Lasso, I feel like I see an old friend somehow. Like I have a personal relationship with them. And she has a really fun role in this that is a little here, a little there, and she's great at it.
She's a big fat phony.
Yeah. And finally, I think the other big actor I want to talk about is, of course, the main antagonist here is Aaron Taylor Johnson, who plays Tom Ryder, a big-time action movie star in this version of the world, who Ryan plays his stunt double. He is, I thought, so good at playing the stereotype of the shitty action star, the beefy, just like jerk, but who's also terribly insecure and afraid to actually do anything. What do you guys think of him?
Oh yeah, he is such a chameleon these days.
Yeah.
I still think of him in Kick-Ass, and to see him now is like such. Every time I'm like, that's not the same human being, but he was so much fun in this movie. He just really, again, I really appreciate when actors and actresses get a chance to lean into the characters that they just want to. Honestly, both Ryan Gosling's character and his character felt like real life Kens, and like if they just took the Ken character from Barbie and just said be real, like in real life, I think it would be them. And so them playing off of each other was really fun, and I can't wait for him to be our next James Bond.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, I love Aaron Taylor Johnson is also climbing up the list of like favorite actors to see in a movie. It seems like he's becoming like a go-to for David Leitch maybe because he was just in Bullet Train with him a few years ago. In this movie, he's so funny, and I think Johnson clearly loves playing like threatening buffoons. Like he's not smart, but he's also like kind of intimidating. It's like you don't want to mess with him because he might do something crazy stupid. But like also I love like his character that he plays. So like he's himself. He's Rod Tyler. He's Tom Ryder or whatever. And like he has that character. But then his character in the movie they're making is kind of like a little Matthew McConaughey kind of dude where he gives himself a line where he goes, I was shooting aliens long before I was paid to do it. And it's like Aaron Taylor Johnson sneaking in a little Matthew McConaughey. I love it. Josh, you kind of mentioned the stereotype, and I have to wonder, why does Hollywood always portray actors as being so terrible? Like, I know clearly there are some actors that fit the mold of terrible people, but was there like a specific inspiration for Hollywood actor who like claims he does his own stunts and does all kinds of bad things, like actually like a really bad person in real life? Like I'm trying to figure out who started this particular meme in Hollywood.
I don't know if anybody started it or if it's just kind of an easy, character archetype because it can, help an underdog actually rise to the top. Like, oh no, there's someone behind that star doing the real work, that kind of thing. But that goes into another thing that I enjoyed about just the storytelling of this movie, which is that I thought it was a bit self-deprecating toward the summer blockbuster because, Emily Blunt's movie Monster Storm, in her head and as she's writing it, is this in-depth examination of her relationship with Colt, and the movie is just a stupid alien sci-fi movie that's just guns blasted. Like, we see a trailer for it at the end. It's a dumb movie.
Yeah.
but it
It
has
looks
so
like
much
Dune
meaning
meets
to
Mad
her.
Max.
And I just like that too. It's like the commentary on the asshole actor and the big stupid movie that the director tries to tell you is actually serious, and it's not. I enjoyed those weird little things, but I don't know where they come from either. Other than, you know, no one would want to see them go up there and just pat themselves on the back. If you're gonna do it, make fun of yourself while doing it.
Right. Two other things I want to point out, some little cameos. So if you have not seen the movie yet, this is one more spoiler warning about some cameos. We have Jason Momoa makes an appearance, and I love
is it,
that.
Momoa?
Is it Momoa?
Momoa.
Aaron Taylor Johnson has post-its everywhere in his apartment to memento levels, and one of them says, "Is it Momoa or Momoa?" I thought I laughed about that when Jason Momoa came back later. I was really happy, and then. We get Lee Majors and Heather Thomas, who were the original actors on the Fall Guys show. I was kind of wondering if something like that was going to happen, and we get a little appearance by them right at the end. So that was fun.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, if there's not any other final highlights you guys want to pull out, let's wrap up here and do our final ratings. What do we think?
Garrett, you go first.
The movie was fun. This is a reason to go to the movie theater with your friends and have popcorn and a good time with your family or your friends or whatever you want to do. It's gonna bring your dad. Your dad's gonna love this movie. Dad, this is a great dad movie. Your mom's gonna love this movie too, because the woman's telling that man what to do, and beating him up and loving it. And so again, the highs outweigh the high. That's the theme of this one. And I think you guys talked me up, honestly, because I was kind of like, overall it was like a really strong for me 3.5. But I'm going to bump it back up to a 4. I think I'm going to go with the 4 stars.
We love a mind being changed. It can be done, people. They say it can't be done on the internet, but here we are changing minds online.
I'm in a very similar place because, like I said, when I came out of the movie, I was really juggling back and forth because I was like, man, I liked a lot of that, but something about it just didn't quite click all the way, and it took me a long time to sort of articulate it to myself. I had high expectations. The movie didn't fully meet them, but at the same time, a lot of stuff was really good about it. And similarly, you guys talked me up from a 3.5 to a 4, so I'm also going to go with a 4 stars as well.
This is amazing. I had a lot of fun during this movie. I laughed a lot. I was on the edge of my seat a lot. I really liked how it centered around filmmaking and stunt performing inside this stupid action film. Pretty much every piece of the movie worked for me. I think Ryan Gosling is like the movie star of the moment right now. Following Barbie and then this. Sorry to the other Ryan. We'll see if Deadpool and Wolverine brings his status back up, but I think he has shifted to second in the Ryan races. At least for me.
He's got If coming out soon too.
Do what?
And he's got If coming out.
That's true. He's got If coming out soon too. But like we said, it's not perfect, and there are some issues with the story. There's that weird joke in there. There's it's a little long in places, but the time I had, it's a 4.5 for me. I had a great time, so I feel like this makes sense. I feel like our ratings make sense.
What a great review from us.
What a great review. Pat ourselves on the back.
4.5.
4.5.
Definitely worth seeing.
Definitely worth seeing. Let's go ahead and play our letterbox game and wrap up the show. It's now time to play the letterbox game, where we're going to read some of the most popular reviews of the Fall Guy on Letterboxd and take a guess at what we think the average rating is of the movie right now. You can follow all of us on Letterboxd. Just search our names there, and you can follow so many sequels there as well. We keep a semi-regularly updated list of all the movies we're reviewing there, so you can also go back and check those out for a list of everything we've already talked about. But I'm going to go first this time because of me being in last. So we'll do that after I read some reviews here. First, we've got from Kyler, 4 stars. The Barbenheimer of 2024. This next one is 3.5 stars. She's everything. He's just Colt. A nice Barbie reference there.
Yeah.
4 stars. Spicy margaritas are great, and Emily Blunt is definitely the bacon.
Yeah.
Another good joke reference there.
The movie.
3.5 stars. A lot of flaws are forgiven when you have Ryan Gosling operating at Michael Jordan levels of charm. There's a lot of that. A lot of love for Gosling charm. 4 stars. I need Ryan Gosling to play a cool, down bad simp every year in order to live. 4 stars. His job was beach. Now it's fall. And finally, 4 stars. Ryan Gosling's Riz could power an entire country.
True.
So,
Yeah.
lots of love for Gosling's performance in this movie. But there was a lot of 3.5s, a lot of 4s, a lot of 4.5s, I think. So a little all over the range there. I think.
Josh.
Yeah, I'm going first. So I'm mostly just talking to stall while I also think in the other quadrant of my brain. I'm feeling like I'm probably higher on it than most people are, just based on some general reaction I've read after I've seen the movie. So, but I think it's still going to be good. So I'm going to go with like a 3.8.
Okay.
Who's next, David? You're the bookkeeper.
Garrett,
I
you
don't
would
have
be
any
next.
idea.
You'd be next over there.
You talked me and David both up, and then there were a lot of 3.5s in there. So I'm gonna go with a 3.6.
Oh, that's
3.6.
okay. Oh gosh, that's right where I want to be too. I did read run review like while we were on break. I read a review that said that the movie only works because of Gosling and Blunt, and if you took them out, it wouldn't be as entertaining.
Well, that's true with most movies and their movie stars.
That's the thing is, some movies.
I
are
mean,
really good
yeah,
and you're
it
like,
wouldn't
yeah.
be as good.
Yeah. I'll go. I mean, I also feel like it's really new, so it'd be surprising if it was this low already. But I'll say 3.5.
Okay. I went with the 3.8. Garrett chose 3.6, and David went with the lower option, the 3.5. We have a direct hit this week, gentlemen, so someone's going to get 2 points on the board, and that person is going to be Garrett. 3.6. Exactly.
2 in a row for Garrett.
Cool. Wow. Look at that. Thumbs up. Was part of the movie, right?
You got it. It was a great part of the movie. I really like the thumbs up
That
references.
was awesome.
I like the explanation of it too.
Yeah, it was cool.
Go see the movie and find out what it is.
Exactly. Please do.
So that jumps Garrett back up to tied with me in the overall Letterboxd rankings. Those overall Letterboxd scores. Garrett and I are tied at 8. Josh behind it with just 5. But hey, 1 direct hit and he's back in striking distance of us. So anything can happen from here. That's two wins in a row for Garrett. He won Uncut Gems the last time we played. Josh is in a bit of a drought. He hasn't won since Swiss Army Man, so that's been a little while. Now.
What a bummer. I gotta say, as much as I loved A24 Pro, what a joy this was.
Yeah.
In comparison to the weird and the disturbed and the just kind of sad A24 month that we had. Sometimes it was fun, but this was like what the doctor ordered after all of that intense high theory filmmaking. I feel like
maybe that's why we liked it more than other people.
maybe it is. We were like, oh my god, we've watched so many think pieces. All right, well, that's gonna do it for us this week. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel or in your favorite podcasting app to keep up with our new episodes and reviews. You can also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Facebook to stay in touch and let us know what you think of the show, what movies you might want us to review this year. If there's anything new coming out that you're looking forward to, be sure to drop us a line on one of those apps and let us know what it is. Maybe we'll cover it. And finally, you can head to somanysequels.com and find links to listen to all of our past episodes, and you can find those social links there too. We will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.